We always talk about the flood itself, the sheer scale of it. But what about the moment the rain actually stopped? That's what we're diving into today, the story of humanity's second chance and the very first steps taken in a new world.
So, the storm is over. The Ark is just floating on this silent, empty ocean that covers the entire planet. But this wasn't the end of their ordeal, not by a long shot. In a lot of ways, the really hard part was just about to begin. I mean, how do you even start to rebuild a world from nothing? For 5 long months, a full 150 days, the entire world was just underwater. But then, something changed. A wind started to blow, and the ancient account tells us this is when the waters finally began to calm down and recede. It was the very first sign that this whole nightmare might actually be ending.
Can you just imagine the silence? After months of non-stop roaring chaos, suddenly, it's quiet. The scripture puts it so poetically, saying the fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were closed. The great cataclysm was officially over.
And then, a jolt, a sudden scraping sound. After all those months just drifting, the Ark bumps up against something solid and grinds to a halt. And get this, the text records this moment with incredible precision. The 7th month, the 17th day. They had finally made landfall.
The level of detail here is just fascinating. It doesn't say a mountain range, which you might expect. It says a specific peak, the mountain of Ararat. And you know what? This place has been known in ancient lore by a very fitting name, the place of first descent. Pretty cool, right?
But just because they'd landed didn't mean they were free to go. Not at all. The timeline of what happens next shows this incredible test of patience. From the water starting to go down, to the Ark landing, to other mountaintops finally showing up, several more months are going to pass.
So, for more than 2 whole months after they landed, they stayed inside. Just picture it. Noah, his family, and this whole menagerie of animals, all just waiting and watching as other mountain peaks slowly started to appear from the water. Now, you'd think seeing other mountains would be the signal, right? Time to go. But no. The account says Noah waited another 40 days. 40! A whole period of testing and waiting before he even sent out a scout to see if the new earth was livable.
So he sends out his first scouts. First, a raven. It kind of flew off and just circled around waiting. But then he sends a dove. Now, a dove needs a place to land, and it couldn't find one anywhere. So it flew straight back to Noah's hand. The message was loud and clear. The world was not ready yet.
And so, he waited again. A whole week passed inside that Ark before he was willing to try a second time. Man, you can only imagine the tension and the hope just building and building inside that wooden ship.
And this was the moment everything changed. He sent the dove out again, and when she came back, she had something incredible in her beak, a fresh olive leaf. It was real, tangible proof that life, that plants, were growing again in the world below.
Okay, so there was one final test. After another 7 days, Noah sent the dove out a third and final time. And this time, she didn't come back. Her absence was the sign he was waiting for. It meant she'd found a home. The earth was finally habitable again.
This all builds to a huge moment on a very specific date, New Year's Day, in Noah's 601st year. The scripture marks this day as a major turning point.
On that day, Noah finally removed the covering of the Ark. We're not exactly sure what this was, maybe a big roof section or a hatch, but it gave them their first real, wide-open view of this new world. And what they saw was just unbelievable. The ground was dry.
All right, so the land is dry. The dove has found a home. It's finally time to open the doors and get out, right? Well, not quite. And this is where the story takes this really fascinating turn, because even after seeing the dry ground, they stayed right where they were.
It's almost hard to believe, but even after seeing the dry earth, they stayed inside the Ark for nearly 2 more months. So why? What were they waiting for? Turns out, Noah was waiting for one last thing, a direct command from God. And at last, that command came. After more than a year locked away, the instruction was finally given. It was time. Time to step out and begin the world all over again.
So, what's the very first thing humanity does in this new world? Is it build a shelter, plant a field? Nope. The very first thing Noah does is build an altar and offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving. His #1 priority was just pure gratitude.
So they were safe. They were on dry land. They had given thanks. But the real journey,
that was just getting started. Standing there in a silent, empty world, they face this unbelievably huge task. How do you even begin to repopulate an entire planet?